for everything.
Alhamdulillah.
Fina or wash, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, everything's God gave me.
And it's live.
Hello guys, hope you're all doing well. My name's Amin, I'm with the NH2 Podcast. Today I'm joined by another special guest, Archie. How you doing, brother?
I'm all good, how are you?
Good man, good, thank you. For those who are watching, the viewers, do you want to tell them what you do?
Yeah, so I'm currently a pro at Notts County, mainly in the B team at the minute. But yeah, I've been around the first team, had my pro debut not long ago. So yeah, just currently playing at Notts.
You enjoying going to Notts County?
Yeah, it's been a tough season, to be fair. I've had a lot of injuries. It started really well, like pre-season was very good. I was involved in the first team a lot. But yeah, after that, got injured. I've just been struggling with injuries since, really. But yeah, I should be back in sort of 4 weeks, hopefully.
It's good, back in action, love it. And that's obviously, with all my guests, with all my people, I like to start from the beginning. All right, from the humble beginnings of Archie to the successes now. So if you want to talk to us about how you first got into football.
Well, my dad played football, so that's probably how I got into it. Like, I was quite late starting. I was around 8, 9-ish sort of when I started, and a lot of my friends were like 3 sort of when they started, so I was a little bit late to it. But yeah, I just joined a Sunday league team like most people do, and yeah, started from there really.
Late bloomer, but
yeah, exactly.
And obviously you got into football, you said pretty late, but how did you first start? Was it just Saturday team and then you worked your way up?
Yeah, so Sunday league team, I think my first ever team was East Thurrock, back like in Essex. And then, yeah, played for another guy, I think that was County Park, which is another Sunday league team. And then, like, my dad sort of found that the coaching I was getting and things like that, it was quite a hostile environment. So then he wanted to do his own team because he thought he could do better. Mm-hmm. And yeah, then I played for my dad since I was it would have been about 10 until I was sort of 16. So yeah, 6 years I played under my dad. And no, he did a very good job, to be fair. I've got to hand it to him. He was very good. He would bring in sort of professional coaches, which not many people were doing, like Sunday League. Mm-hmm. So yeah, for a long time I've had very good coaching. And yeah, it was probably thanks to my dad, to be fair. So yeah,
it's a bit homebred. He did it himself.
Yeah.
And when he talks about hostile coaching, what do you mean by that?
Well, I remember my first ever game, like just the shouting, like from the parents, the coaches, like just like shoot, you know what I mean?
You're in, finish.
Just loads of shouting, and like I remember my dad, when we got in the car, he just went mad at me, like saying, "Oh, why ain't you tackling? Like, why wouldn't you do it?" And I remember I got home, I ran upstairs, started crying, and I remember that night he come up to me and he come upstairs, said sorry, and he was like, "Oh, we're not playing for that team ever again." Like, he's going to start his own team. So yeah, I think people get too emotional at football, and they sort of, their egos get involved and things like that, and then they start shouting.
Yeah, and as a kid, obviously, you know, you still remember it now, so it left an impact.
Yeah, I still remember it, yeah.
And so you went through that, your dad took you in under his wing.
Yeah.
And what was the difference between his kind of work and the grumpy work?
He was, my dad, I'd say everything he does it to his best. Like, he'd spend a lot of time sort of going out, trying to find the best coaches. Like, we had a guy called Macca, and he was on FIFA Street, like he was a street footballer, so he used to be our ball mastery coach. Like, we do a lot of skills and sort of technical stuff with him. He'd find like S&C coaches. I remember working like with Sam, like that's another guy I worked with. We had coaches from professional clubs like Southend, Colchester come down. So he was very much like, he wanted it to be the best like environment to learn in, and he definitely created a very good environment. Like, and it was tough, like playing under your dad sometimes, but I think he found a good balance, to be fair. So I enjoyed it.
So you brought the best from each category, so dribbling, shooting, tackling.
Yeah,
strength.
Definitely, yeah. He tried to cover sort of every aspect, to be fair.
Yeah, that's good. And in terms of position-wise, obviously, did you start out a different position when you were younger?
Yeah, I used to be a right winger, because I was quite quick back in the day, but I don't know what that's gone now. But I used to be quick, so I was on the right. I used to play right wing. Then then sort of around 12, I went to midfield, and then just started getting further and further back. I think that's probably the sign of someone that's probably not the greatest player. Like, you get forced further back. But no, I remember there was a kid in our league that was very good, and my dad wanted me to man mark him, so he was playing striker that game. So I went centre back, and it was one of the best games I've ever had, probably to this day. So yeah, that's how it started. That's how I become a centre back, really.
Is he still in your pocket to this day?
He's took him out now.
So obviously you worked under your dad. You said till 16.
Yeah.
He mentored you. He did everything.
Yeah.
And from 16 to now,
yeah,
what was the next big jump after your dad's work?
Yeah. So my dad, like one of the family friends, he coached at Notts County, and my dad wanted him to come down and just do a session for us. It was never like planned to be a trial or anything like that. My dad just wanted to learn off of him for like how he would coach and things like that. Mm-hmm. And he come down, and I guess he thought I was a good player or whatever, and he said to my dad, like, when he's old enough, when he's 16 and he finishes school, because I think I was 14, 15 at the time. So he said when he finishes school, like, he's more than welcome to come up, have a trial, like a 6-week trial, and then we'll see where we go from there. And that's what I did. So I'd trial, I'd come out of school on a Thursday, I'd come out early, drive 3 hours to Notts, train for an hour and a half, and then drive 3 hours home for a trial. And I was doing that for a while. So that's how I sort of made the jump into Notts. And then, yeah, they offered me a scholar. And then that's how it sort of went from there, to be fair.
Yeah, and with the word scholar, that gets thrown around a lot. Yeah. Do you want to explain what a scholar is?
Yeah, so a scholar would be, to be fair, I wasn't actually on a scholar like a what it would be now, because Notts weren't in League 2 at the time. So it was an unpaid scholarship or sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, a scholar would be that from the age of sort of 16 to 18 or 17 to 19. So it's a 2-year contract, really. And it's so it's full-time football as well as your education. So that would be a scholar, yeah. And if you're in League 2 to the Prem, you'd be getting paid for that, yeah.
So it's kind of a bit like an apprenticeship, but
yeah, it's basically a football apprenticeship. Yeah.
It's the dream, isn't it?
Yeah, it was good times. It was hard work, but yeah, it was good.
And how was it like having through that scholarship? You know, wake up, training, eat, train, study.
Yeah, it was tough, and but I think it's a very good opportunity to develop. Like, I remember I would train, then I'd have college, like training from 9 till 1, then college would be sort of 1 till 4, and then I would go and do extra sessions like on the pitch. We had like an indoor Astro, so I'd go in there, I'd do an hour of sort of extra training, and then I'd go out and do an hour of upper body work or something like that, and then I'd go and do an hour sort of recovery. So there was times where I'd be in from 9 till 8, like training all day, and I remember like the coaches would be like, "Oh, are you still here? Like, what are you doing when you're going home?"
Yeah.
But like, I loved being out of the house and being away from home. If I went home, there wasn't really a whole lot to do anyway. So for me, I just put all my time, all my effort into training, trying to recover, trying to get better, and definitely those 2 years was probably the most I've ever developed. Like, it was pretty crazy, to be fair. And it just shows, hard work. Like, if you work hard and you stick at it, you're going to get better. It's guaranteed. Yeah,
it's guaranteed. And you mentioned obviously coming from Essex.
Yeah.
So were you there up in Notts County the whole time, or you come back Easter and Christmas?
Yeah, I mean, I try and get back as often as I could to see family, but it was tough. Like, I couldn't drive at the time, so I'd have to get the trains, and trains are trench. It's hard work on the trains. So yeah, I mean, I'd come back if I got the weekend off. I'd try and get back, but a lot of the time it's a busy schedule, so there's not a whole lot of time to get back. So I think the first sort of the first 6 weeks I was living like in a hotel, like with my dad and my little brother. We was just staying up in a hotel, walking to training, which was like 40 minutes, like. So it was tough, but like, I look back now and I loved it. Like, it was with fond sort of memories, you know.
Yeah, sacrifice, but paid off in the end.
Yeah,
so.
It's good.
Yeah, and obviously after your scholarship, we're jumping maybe a bit, but scholarship to under 21s. When did that first happen?
I would have been 18 at the time, and I remember like it was the end of the season, and we had to sort of get there was a meeting to say if you was getting kept on or not, and it was like it's very nerve wracking, you know. Yeah. And you're thinking, have I done enough? Am I going to get offered anything or whatever? And I mean they don't give anything away. Like literally, I walked into the room. And they offered me, it's a pro contract. They offered me a pro. It wasn't like in the first team squad, but it's like a professional contract. You're getting paid to play or whatever, no education. So I was happy about that. But I mean, I was buzzing. Like, I didn't expect it really at all, to be honest. But no, I was so happy. Like, I mean, you train all your life to sort of get your first pro or whatever, like the amount of hours you work, the sacrifices, and it, like I remember it come through in an email, my contract came through in an email, and I was at the gym. I nearly started crying. I was just so happy. Like I just remember thinking, I worked so hard for this. Like
it's paid off.
The amount of sacrifice and everything from me, my family, like it just felt so worth it. Like that's probably the best feeling I've ever had in my life. Like it was so good. But yeah,
it feels even better because the amount of things you not lost, but the amount of things you missed out on that time.
Yeah, exactly. Like I remember, like in school, I wouldn't go really to any of the parties. Like I didn't have many friends because, like, I think people that aren't on that sort of journey, it's hard for them to sort of understand what you're trying to do. Yeah, and like I'd be like the parties. I was at training. I had a game the next day and things like that. So. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of sacrifice. Like you'd miss weddings, parties, whatever it is, spending time with your family. And no, like when you sacrifice those things, like the fear, it's so much more. It's unbelievable feeling, like.
Yeah, and that's the thing I've had with many of the people that came on with me before. They, like you mentioned, weddings.
Yeah.
They missed weddings, parties. Some guys missed, their son being born because they were abroad, or whatever. And obviously, through the scholarship, there's a lot of kind of stories kind of with, let's say, for example, Alex Hunter, all right, from FIFA. He had a mate. He'd go with him through the scholarship process through youth football. Did you have anyone that you kind of stuck through with, kind of like almost a brother that you'd go out with?
Yeah, I mean, I was very close with this one lad, Brad. He was probably, I'd class him as my best mate in that football environment. Like, because when you're at football, you spend all day with them. Like, I mean, I'm seeing this guy more than I'm seeing my mum and my dad and things like that. Like, I see him all the time. But no, me and Brad would get on really well, to be fair. And unfortunately, he got let go after last year. So this year, I've not been at football with him. So it was a bit of the Alex Hunter, to be fair. But no, I mean, he was a good guy. I love Brad. But still try and text him now, to be fair.
Yeah, it's like a brother. Both of you locked in on one goal.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and obviously I talked about teammates that you were on the rise with, and let's talk about old people, key mentors and influences in your life. Obviously your father was a big one.
Yeah, he was probably the biggest. Yeah,
coaches, things like that, people along the journey.
Yeah, I mean, mate, there's been so many to mention. Like, I mean, coaches, I'd probably say Macca. Like I said, I used to work a lot with him. He would be, I'd have like private sessions with him quite regular. There was an S&C coach, Sam. He was unbelievable guy. Like I remember there would be equipment like he'd give to us for free, like which obviously it's out of his own pocket. You know what I mean? He would go above and beyond. Like we used to train in the mornings before school with him, like at 6 a.m, like, which obviously you don't have to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
exactly. Yeah.
He, like, those two people, I think they really cared about your development and they wanted to see you do well. And I mean, I still see both of them now. I still try and text them now because, like, I am very grateful for sort of what they've done. There was another coach, Lewis. But then after that was sort of up to 16. After that, the main one would be Craig Gordon. He was the Notts County coach. So I played under him for 3 years. He was the guy that brought me in, and honestly, he's probably the best. He's the best coach I've ever played for. Like, just he was very tough, like very tough on you, and like we sort of. It was a weird relationship because basically his wife is a bit of a mad one. His wife is my dad's cousin. So he was so hard on me. Like,
tough love.
He was, because there was a guy before where his dad was the academy manager, so he would he'd give him special treatment. Do you know what I mean?
It's the whole family tree right there.
Yeah, but then Craig obviously saw that and he thought, no way, I'm doing the opposite. Like, he would be so hard on me, like And he'd test me all the time. I remember he went just mad at me one day, like for not really any reason. And then obviously I found out like a few years later he was just testing me like to see what my sort of character was.
Yeah.
But nah, he was another one. He'd go above and beyond. He'd do a lot for you, and he'd sort of like after training, whatever you wanted. If I said, "Can you do a little bit extra with me?" Like training, he'd do it. Like if it was training plans or like psychology work. He would be there, and he gave me so many chances. Like, and I think any player at Notts County now, if you ask them who sort of helped them come up on their journey, they would all say Craig. Like, he was a very key guy. He's in Egypt now, to be fair. He's coaching for ZFC in Egypt.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was sad to see him go, but nah, he did a lot for me, to be fair. So thank you, Craig, if you're watching.
He had an impact. And
yeah.
As a defender, obviously, when he mentioned he was testing you, need that obviously because you don't want to lose your head against a Mopai, someone getting you rattled or whatever. And so we mentioned obviously grassroots to Notts County.
Yeah.
That's done.
Yeah.
And you had a debut as well with the starting squad.
Yeah.
The first team. Yeah. How was that?
It was just a dream come true. That's the only way I can describe it. Like, honestly, and it sort of just it felt like it was meant to be. Like, whatever, like whoever's sort of looking over me or whatever, it felt like that was just put in place. Like, because basically I'd been injured for like 3 months before with my hamstring.
Oh, wow.
And that was the first game I'd played coming back. I hadn't played any football before that, and I'd literally been training for like 3 days before, like just come back 3 days. And on the day or the day before, one of the first team players pulled out. I think he got injured, and I got put in, and it was just like unbelievable. Like, it just felt like it was meant to be. My number was 51, and it was my dad's 51st birthday. Like, it was unbelievable, to be fair. But no, like on the day, it was. I felt like a lot of nerves, to be fair. But I do a lot of work on my mind to sort of try and control those. And then like, I mean, when you hear your name come over the tannoy thing, and like you're standing there on the side waiting, like with the board up and that, it honestly, it was just like a dream come true, to be fair. And played against Leicester 21s, so there was a few like very, very good players.
They have a nice squad, Leicester.
Yeah. I'd imagine some of them were probably like that. Will Alves, I think his name.
Yeah,
is.
Will Alves.
He's played in the Prem now, I think. So no, it was unbelievable. But just a dream come true, and like same again with the pro. Like, it feels like all that hard work is sort of
paid off.
Yeah.
And were there any telltale signs before, kind of, that you knew you were going to get that shot that day?
No, honestly, no. To be honest,
just out of the blue.
Yeah, I had a very good pre-season. Like, I went on tour with the first team. I was involved in all of their games, so I was in and around it for a while, to be fair. But then being injured for sort of 3 months, like, they hadn't seen me train or play for a long time. So I mean, it was. And like the squad come out, or the day before, like the players that are going to play, they go up to train. And that day I was training with the 21s. I wasn't with the first team. So I thought, it's done. Like, I'm not playing, do you know what I mean? But that session, someone must have pulled out. And then I got put in that day. So, yeah, there weren't a lot of signs, so no.
How was the game?
It was tough, but like, because I didn't feel very fit at all. Like, I hadn't played for so long.
3 months out.
Yeah, literally. So I didn't feel very fit, but just like the adrenaline and the buzz of like making your debut, it just got you through it. But to be fair, when I come on, we was defending a lot. I think we was 1-0 up, and it was just a lot of defending. But I loved it, hanging on. Yeah. Hit a crunching tackle as well. They're the sort of games that I love. Like, backs against the wall, holding on to a clean sheet, and we did get a clean sheet. We won 1-0, and I was just buzzing when that whistle went. I was just so happy.
That's proper part of the bus. 9 minutes part of the bus. So you had your debut, obviously, and then were you captain before that for the Bees team, or was it after? Yeah,
so the first 2 years I wasn't. I was vice captain or whatever. I've always tried to like lead by example, like with my training or like how I work when I'm in the building or whatever. I've always tried to lead. But I didn't always wear the armband. It was a different guy. But then, when in my third year, I was captain. And then this year, I was captain as well. But obviously I've only played like 6-7 games this year, so hardly been captain, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, I've always tried. Like my dad's always said to sort of try and be a leader. I was always captain growing up. If I was playing in like we used to play in like this league team, like where the best players in the league would play against like academies and that.
Yeah.
I was captain of that. So yeah, I mean, I've got good leadership skills, and it's something I sort of pride myself on, to be fair. So yeah.
Did you develop that, or are you just naturally born?
No, I think it's. I don't know. Like I think some things you was born with, but like everything, you've got to develop these skills. Like, and obviously now I'm nowhere near like the sort of captain or leader I could be. There's scenarios that happen, and I think I should have dealt with that better. But I mean, yeah, like just sort of trying to do the right thing, trying like working hard. Like you're sort of halfway there, do you know what I mean? And then like you sort of you can learn people's skills on like along the way. But yeah, I think definitely I'm not there like what I want to be yet. But yeah, it's a work in progress, to be fair.
Because a lot of people, I think, obviously everyone watching, not all of them are footballers, but everyone knows footballers, right?
Yeah.
It's a worldwide thing, and they get confused a lot with kind of captain. They see them as like the shouty kind of guy, the loud guy, but that's not always the case. It's sometimes the guy who's responsible for the team, looks out for each other and stuff. And obviously going back to when you talked about when you were in grassroots football and how they were all shouting at you and stuff, and the challenges of the Notts County coach, he was having goes at you to test your kind of mental strength. Does that all come into play as a leader on the pitch and dealing with opposition and dealing with your teammates? Yeah,
I mean, all your life experiences sort of like create who you are now. Do you know what I mean? And playing under my dad, he always sort of tried to install like you need to be a leader. Like you're one of the better players. You need to lead this group of players. So yeah, I think I've always tried to be a leader. Like, and definitely like your experiences as a whole, you'll develop it more. Like that's why experience in football is such an important thing, because it does give you a massive advantage, like with nerves or whatever. Experience is big. So yeah,
that's true. Yeah, the more you do something, because you can only research so much, right? You have to apply in real life, learn from the mistakes. That's with everything. And we talked about your senior debut, obviously, and with the B team, obviously under 21s football, it's very easy to get called up into the first team, I think, because you have a couple good games, then someone drops out, you have an opportunity. How's it like at the B team?
I mean, it's tough, to be fair. Like when you're seeing players in your position or whatever go up to the first team and you're not going up, like that's tough to deal with, because obviously it's like it feels like rejection sort of on like quite a regular basis. And yeah, like I mean, people think like footballers or whatever, like I'm a professional footballer, but I definitely don't feel like one. Like the facilities that we have are terrible. Do you know what I mean? And some of the things that happen, like it is very, very different to first team football. You know, like I mean, the minibus we used to get on was like it was shocking. It's like a 16-seater thing, like tiny. If you're getting out for games, you'd have cramp before you'd even started. Like. But no, the B team's been it's a very good sort of environment to learn, like, because like I said, you can't get too ahead of yourself in that environment. Exactly. Because I mean, like I've gone to Leicester's training ground, and you can like if you go there every day, you feel like you've made it already. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But in the B team, you definitely don't feel like that. So it keeps you humble. Yeah, no,
that's true, because humbleness is especially with young players.
Yeah.
Like, and social media as well now. You know, back in, I don't know, Michael Owen's day, he won the Ballon d'Or, but that was just newspapers, that's it. But then now you've got all these social media sites, you know, hyping you up, saying, this guy's the next big thing, this guy's the next big thing. Yeah. But in reality, you haven't made it yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dangerous thing. Like, people get it. I always say, like, don't get ahead of yourself. Like, I've made my debut or whatever. That it literally means so little. Do you know what I mean? Like, personally, it means a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, it don't mean nothing. Like, you've played 30 minutes of professional football, whatever it is, like until you've made 300 appearances, that's when you can say, like, right, I've made it now. Do you know what I mean? I'm a pro. That's what I think, anyway.
So, no, that's true, because some people, you know, they've started for the first team, then they just vanish there. And
Oh, you see it. I've seen you see it on a daily basis. Like even when people go up to training with the first team, and I've done this myself. Like I ain't perfect. Like you go up to train with the first team for a little bit, and you come back down. And you think you're better than everyone else, but not a lot has changed in that amount of time. Do you know what I mean? Exactly. So I always say like don't get too high, don't get too low. Like just sort of keep yourself steady and keep the process going.
Like Haaland said, be humble.
Yeah.
And then the rest will come into place. And so you're captain Notts County, and you're in the B team now. You mentioned obviously the facilities being a big difference. What's another big difference between pro football and under 21s?
I'd say the biggest is, in terms of the football, is intensity. The way that pros train, like, is completely different. They're pedal to the metal all the time. Do you know? If like we do rondos and we'd be messing about, like if you get a Megs, like you start laughing.
Have a laugh, yeah.
Like their rondo, it's a drill in itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they are popping it, and like that was one of the biggest things I noticed was the intensity and like the level of competitiveness as well in training. Like if your man goes past you, they're on you like all the time. And they, like just the intensity of how they train day to day. I'd say that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and you need to keep up. You need to always keep up with the quality.
Yeah, I mean, they don't let your standard slip. Like, because technically, there's not a whole lot of difference between some of the players. Like, even physically as well. But like their mindset is probably what sets them apart. I'd say.
Yeah, we talked about mindset, obviously, and in terms of physical going to the gym and stuff. How was your approach of that?
In terms of gym?
Yeah, in terms of strength.
Yeah, I mean, I always valued the gym work. Like I do like I said, from a young age, I've been doing like strength and conditioning sessions with a PT and that. So I think it's massive. Like not necessarily the strength, but like injury prevention stuff, like trying to stay fit. And I know I've been injured for a lot of this season, but like before that, I've been very like active in not getting injured. So I think things like that, preparing your body for the load that it's going to sort of like have to deal with in a game of football is unbelievable. Like, so the gym's a perfect way to do that in like a controlled environment.
Obviously,
and like your physical attributes are a massive thing. Like I think even if you turn up to a game and you see a striker, for me anyway, and he's massive, you think I'm in for a game today. Do you know what I mean? Like you sort of, it can put a little bit of doubt in your mind just by looking a certain way. So. No, it's definitely a big thing, and for me, like, at the minute I'm training every day in the gym, like twice a day. So gym, I value it a lot.
It's tough, yeah. Twice a day is quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I do lowers in the morning and then uppers at night. So that's the thing now.
Full body, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's obviously training and also recovery, because you said as a footballer, there's a lot of load. You got your training, you got your games, you got your gym. What do you do for recovery?
I'm big on recovery, to be fair. It's one of my biggest things. I do a lot of different things, but day to day, I stretch and foam roll every night for an hour. I do that religiously. Like it's the same as brushing my teeth. Do you know what I mean? It happens every day. So that's one of the biggest things. Another thing, like I said, like injury prevention. Like if you can stop an injury from happening before it does, then that's the biggest thing. So. Like I would say, get in the gym, work on your groins, your ankles, strengthen like all those areas. So strengthening, stretching, like foam rolling. I've been doing contrast therapy at the minute. So like I've got a cold like an ice bath downstairs.
Yeah.
Like get in that for 2 minutes, run upstairs, hot bath upstairs 2 minutes, and I alternate the two. That's very good. I do a lot of stuff. Nutrition as well is massive for recovery. Like make sure you're high protein, high carbs. Like you got to eat a lot of calories if you're burning all of that, doing gym twice a day, whatever it is, training. So nutrition, hydration, all that sort of stuff is very important.
You need to fuel the machine.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, food is fuel. So
exactly.
100%.
And you mentioned obviously hot and cold.
Yeah.
Hot, cold. And for me personally, like I'm no footballer or whatever, but I still, I play football for fun.
Yeah.
I go gym, whatever. And we've actually got a sauna, and back home in London, I've got a sauna that I go to quite a bit. sauna, cold shower, cold shower. Do you guys do that as footballers? Because I heard a lot of footballers love that.
I used to. I don't have a sauna at home or at the gym that I go to, so I can't do sauna anymore. I used to do it, but for me at the minute, I know sauna's got a lot of benefits, like cardiovascularly.
Exactly, everything.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of good things to sauna. I have a cold shower every morning. That's part of my morning routine. So I mean, cold therapy, hot therapy is very good for you. So definitely, and it's cheap. Do you know what I mean? To run a hot bath and a cold one, it doesn't cost a lot of money.
Water bill. Yeah, that's literally it. And moving over now from the physical and mental stuff, let's talk about a big word here: loans.
Yeah.
Big word. Some people love it. Some people don't like it.
Yeah.
What's your experience with that word?
I mean, some people get obsessed about loans. Like, that's all they talk about. I know my old mate Brad, what I was talking about earlier, he used to love a loan. And there's another guy, Dems, he loves a loan as well. But no, I think loans in the right way and in the right environment are very useful. To be fair, like for me, I went out on loan to Basford, and for me it was like I spoke a lot with the first team players, and they all said like you need to go and experience the men's game. Like for me, it was like the physical battle and just like learning the game sort of thing. Like I don't know, play it. Like if it's later on in the game, you might start going a little bit longer and things like that. And it's a completely different style of football. So like they do play more direct, and you have to learn how to deal with that. So I would say it's a good way. If for me as a centre back, it was very good. Like I said, for dealing with long balls, sort of like the defending crosses all the time. You're in transition all the time. It's very physical. Like if you're wrestling with a striker, it's very tough. So you learn that side of the game, and then when you go back to knots, it's more on the floor. It's a lot more calculated. You're playing out. It's more you're more on the ball. So you get both sides of the game. So I think have a clear vision in why you're going out on loan. Don't just go out on loan because there's a bit more money in it, or it's like, I don't know, it's men's football. Like have a clear idea as to why. That's what I would say. There should
be a reason behind everything. Yeah, don't just do it. Obviously, from Notts County to your loan club, was there a big difference in terms of
massive.
What step is it?
They were step 3, and the biggest difference was physically. Like I thought I'd walk in and be one of the fittest players there, but like just the amount of transitions is unbelievable. Like I mean, some of the games I was playing in, there weren't more than like 4 passes put together at once. Like so, literally, the ball would go over your head. You have to run, get it, and then you'd kick it long, and then you'd have to get your line up to the halfway line. Literally, it was like a tennis match, but. That was probably the biggest difference, was the physicality of it all, and just like never being settled. Where like when you're with Notts, you'll move it across the back line. You might play into the forward, they'll bounce out, things like that. But with Basford or whatever, it was literally your transitions all the time. So you got to be so focused. Otherwise, as a centre back, if you switch off for a second, the ball's over your head and they're running in on goal. Do you know what I mean? So the physicality of it was, I was shocked.
Yeah, and obviously big change. You said yourself. And was there any, like you said earlier, you said go on loan for a reason, right? Yeah. What did you get out of that loan?
Well, it was cut short because I got injured in my second game, which I was fuming about. But I would say, like I said, I got out of it like understanding the amount of transitions in that level of football. Like being so focused all the time, and like the importance of that sort of football. Like, and when we play with the 21s, obviously people want to win. Like you want to win every game you're playing, but no one's losing their job if you don't. Do you know what I mean? You're not getting relegated in the 21s league. Like no one's life is on the line. Almost.
Nothing to lose.
That was another big thing. Like the importance of the games. Like there's fans there. There's not really a lot of fans at the 21s games, so. Like the importance of it all. Like if you don't play well, the manager's going to get sacked, and like how's he going to pay his wages? You know what I mean? Like
it's got a mortgage, it's got kids, it's got the missus, the Nicky back home.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and so you joined them. Yeah, obviously it was cut short, unfortunately, but you took a few lessons out of it. And in terms of injuries, what's your kind of history with that? What did you learn from? Because there's challenges that come with it.
Yeah, massive,
things you take out of.
With injuries, I've been very fortunate the last sort of 4 or 5 years, I ain't been out really for longer than a week. So this year is my first time of having like a longer term injury, and for me, I think it was like not training in the right ways. Like I don't think we was training as intense as we should have been. I think with my hamstring, I didn't manage that well enough at all. I had tendonitis.
Oh wow!
So I'd be out for a week and then I'd try and come back, and then I'd be out for another 2 weeks and I'd try and come back. Instead of just resting for like 2-3 weeks and then like really rehabbing it properly, I was trying to be a hero and get back too quick and things like that. So I'd say 1, rehab your injuries properly, like take it seriously, and then 2, like with my quad, I think that just come from I hadn't played in so long after my hamstring.
Yeah.
And then I played Saturday, Tuesday in the snow, like it was snowing. So, like just that increase in load was stupid. Like you shouldn't do that. So if anyone's watching and you've had an injury, don't like build up slowly. Do you know what I mean? Don't just go straight back into it because your body won't cope. Like as obviously I've found out. So
exactly.
Yeah, rehab properly. That's what I would say.
Take it easy. Don't rush it.
Yeah. Take your time with it.
Taking your time with it. That quote applies, I think, to the whole of football, because were there times you felt that you were getting maybe a bit impatient, that you were saying, when's my call up,
all the time. I'm so bad for that, to be fair, and it's something I've had to really try and learn how to deal with. Like I remember there was a guy, Lucian, he came in and he was going up with the first team a lot in the first sort of my first 2 years. He's at Norwich now. He scored in the Championship the other day. So
shout out to him.
Yeah, shout out to Lucian. He's a good player, but no, I mean, I think a lot of people do that. Like you get ahead and you think, once I make my debut, I'll be happy, or once I get in the first team, I'll be happy. And the realistic thing is, once you achieve it, you're on to the next thing straight away.
Exactly,
do you know what I mean? So you've got to find enjoyment in that journey and trying to sort of like the journey is where the enjoyment is. Do you know what I mean? Once you get that thing, the enjoyment's there for a little bit, but it dies very quickly. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, like in everything, like I see a thing the other day, like Obama was president at like 45, Trump's like 70 odd, and he's just become, do you know what I mean? So that's like everyone runs their course differently.
Exactly.
You just got to be patient, and the end, wherever you end up, you'll end up. I think do the right things, work as hard as you can, and where you're meant to end up, you will end up. So yeah, I think take some comfort in that and just be patient and enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the ride, because the best thing, I think, for me as well, from my experience, obviously you've shared your experience about enjoying the journey, enjoying the ride.
Yeah.
With this whole kind of podcast thing, is the things I've enjoyed is also just, outreach, sending, hey, do you want to come on this? Do you want to do that? Enjoying the journey, not the destination.
Yeah, exactly. Like I look back on my time of football, and I'm sure you'll do the same. Like there's times where you are up late and you're training really hard, or you get up really early. Like there's some of the best times, and you'll remember those. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely enjoy the journey, because that's the like 90% of it. That's 99% of what you're doing. Like so, if you hate that, and then you're just chasing that 1% at the end where you think that'll make me happy. Like you're wasting your time. You got to enjoy what you're doing now.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
You know it now, because some people find that out later, at 30, at 25, whatever. You mentioned obviously journey.
Yeah.
All right, I'm doing a lot of words and then connecting it to the next topic. But journey, you've had obviously your injuries, you've had some setbacks, you had your highs, you had your lows, but you've documented them all. Yeah. Do you want to tell us about that?
Oh yeah. So I do I'm running a TikTok page at the minute. It's called Process. And it's just something that I wanted to do for a long time. I was in lockdown, and I was just coming up with ideas and things like that. And it's something I wanted to do for a long time. And I think part of the reason was, like, I know how fortunate I've been with my dad. Like, he's put a lot into the football for me. And, like, I've had a lot of very good coaches in all different aspects. Like we've had ball mastery, like I said, strength and conditioning, like nutrition stuff. So I'm pretty well-rounded on the knowledge side. So I think if I can give that back to some of the other players, like young players that maybe aren't as fortunate, their parents don't support it as much. But I don't think you'll find many parents that support it as much as my dad did, to be fair. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think if I can give back to them, and it also holds me accountable as well. Like if people are expecting a video or whatever, like you've got to go and film it. Do you know what I mean? You've got to go to the gym and you've got to film it. But yeah, I think it's just I really enjoy it, and I think everyone should maybe look at doing it because there's money to be made in that sort of stuff. And
Exactly.
if it's your passion, like, and you can make money doing your passion, like that's the goal, really, isn't it?
It's the dream.
Yeah.
And also there's, you're what, 10, 12k?
Yeah,
right now,
12k the
as of
other day,
recording.
Yeah,
So we're going to shoot up a bit later, but so you've got all those people holding you accountable.
Yeah.
They're like, Archie, give us some wisdom, something like that. And obviously with Pro Process, how do you, because there's a lot of content creators, right? But not many of them are, have as many other things as you. You're in the gym twice a day, you got your training.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
I think part of it is I'm lucky in the fact that the content I'm shooting is just what I do anyway. Like, I'm not going out of my way to film content. And that was something that I've thought about. Like, I needed a bit of extra money. Do you know what I mean? When I started, and I thought, what's the best way to make a bit of extra money without taking away from my football? Because that's the main priority. Like,
Exactly.
I could go and work in a warehouse or whatever for like 6 hours. But that's 6 hours where I could be training. So for me, I thought, well, if I upload this content, like, and I can earn money from that, and all I'm doing is training, that's all I'm doing anyway. So
Win-win.
It's I find it quite easy to sort of balance it because I'm not going out of my way to do anything anyway. Do you know what I mean? The only thing would be the editing, which that doesn't take long. I'm sure you've
On your phone.
Yeah, on your phone.
CapCut it or whatever.
It's pretty easy.
You use CapCut, you like that?
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, I mean, it takes. Yeah, it don't take too long. So, yeah, I find it pretty easy, to be fair.
That's good. It's a hobby as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I do
like
enjoy it, and I'm not someone that takes a load of pictures. I hate taking pictures. And like my missus, she takes too many, and I hate it. But I'm not sort of that sort of person. But no, once I started doing it, I actually did enjoy it, and I'm still enjoying it. So it's good.
And did it kind of help you with your career as well, kind of being more outgoing, being more talking more?
Yeah, I think like even doing this, I wouldn't have done this like before. Do you know what I mean? And I think you can cultivate opportunities in football. Like, a lot of people wait for them to come to them. Like, I remember hearing a thing, John Terry would go and sit at first team training with his boots and just wait, and like if anyone got injured, he'd be there to say like, I can jump in and do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I've been at first team training, if someone gets injured, they'll chuck a coach in. And it's like, the coaches don't really want to play. Do you know what I mean? I thought that was like, you can cultivate opportunities for yourself, and I don't think people do it enough. They wait and sit and think, why is this not happening? Like, why is nothing going my way or whatever? Like, go and create it yourself, because there's opportunities to be had, definitely.
That's very true. That's really good.
Yeah, like
advice
what
as
you're
well.
doing. Like, you text me, and like I'm sure you've texted hundreds of other people as well.
Right,
like, you've cultivated that. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't have found you. Do you know, like,
So I have to reach out.
Yeah, exactly. And
to my goals.
I have to do the same. Like, if whatever happens at the end of this year, I don't get a contract at Knots or whatever, I'm gonna have to go and find another opportunity myself, or my agent, or whatever it is. So, yeah, I think that's definitely a life skill that I've learned from doing that. And just being like in the gym when you're setting up a tripod, it's quite sort of, you're self-conscious. Like, who cares? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's another thing. Like, who actually cares? Like, don't be scared to do something you want to do because you're worried about what other people will think of you. Like, yeah, I do get the mick taken out of me a little bit of training, but like, who cares? Like, when I'm on like 100k or whatever and I'm making money from it, people will be asking then like, wow, how'd you do this? Do you know what I mean? So,
Could we do a collab? Tag me in your video or something like that. Obviously, you're doing a great job, I think, balancing it, balancing your career with your passion of content creation. And obviously, you put a lot of things out there of what you're doing in your life, your ice baths, your hot baths, going out on the camera and things like that. And how do you decide? This is a bit of a personal question, I think, but how do you decide what to keep private and what to keep public?
It's a good question. I've never really thought about it, to be honest. Like, I think a lot of people just want to show you the glamour, like the glamour side of it, like of being a pro. Do you know what I mean? But there's a lot more downs, I'd say, than there are ups to being a footballer. Like I said, with the injuries and things like that. Like, I remember I pulled my quad and I was just sat in the car, I was crying, like, because you've like, the first thing in my head was, I've got my contract runs out in sort of 3-4 months. Do you know what I mean? And this is a 3-month injury, so I've got 1 month left now to sort of try and earn another one. So, I mean, that sort of stuff, like, it is personal, but I think people get a lot of value from that because no one really shares it. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
And like that it's a big part of football. So yeah, I think I try and be as open as I can be. But yeah, some things obviously you keep to yourself and that. But yeah.
And even with kind of things behind the scenes as well, like for example, not just footballers, but just random blokes in general, right?
Yeah.
You've got, you know, on Instagram, all you see is just people smiling, right? Just,
of course.
You know, Magaluf 24 or anything, right? Just the good times. But most of the time, I think with people, this might be a generalization, but most of the time, people are struggling with something or they've got something going on that they need to sort out. But you're just seeing happy faces, and that's not the reality, is it?
No, 100%. Like it's definitely not the reality. I know for a fact there ain't one footballer in this world that has had a smooth, like just a smooth rise up. No downs, no nothing. Like 100%. Any footballer, like even whatever his name is, Yamal, who's like top game. He's 17. 100%, he will face adversity in his career, and like everyone will. So yeah, I think. Like, take social media with a pinch of salt. Even my videos, like, of course, there's like I'll do a day in the life. Not every day looks like that. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly,
like, there's some days where it's my off day and I'm knackered. I'm just gonna sit and watch Netflix. Do you know what I mean? Like, and everyone does that. Like, no one's Superman. Like, we can just keep that going every day. Like, definitely, yeah. I'd take everything on social media with a little bit of a pinch of salt. But yeah, just focus on yourself. Like, I think. As people, we was never meant to see like the whole world of everyone, what everyone's doing. Do you know, like, and from a football point of view, like you get caught up in like, oh, this player's in the Prem, like, and he's 17, like 1 year or whatever it is. Like, I'm 20, he's 17, and he's in the Prem. I'm nowhere near as good as he is. But
you
like,
put yourself down, but
yeah, and it like, oh, what's the phrase? Comparison is the thief of joy.
That's the one. Yeah.
Like that, and it's a big thing. And social media is so easy to compare on. Like, just focus on yourself and focus on your journey, and like your time will definitely come. That's what I would say.
No, that is true, because everyone goes through their own thing. Yeah. And then everyone has their own results as well, right?
Yeah, of course.
And obviously, speaking about going through your own thing, mental health, I think it's a very, very big topic. I've spoken to it with Joshua I had the other day.
Yeah.
Boxers that I had the other, a couple months ago, whatever. What's your experience with that as a pro footballer, young footballer?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've
things you've heard about, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, like my younger brother, I'm sure he suffered a lot with anxiety. Like, he was really bad, and I remember there'd be games where like he'd be in the toilet, like, and he couldn't come out, and he couldn't face the game because he was just so nervous of like not performing or whatever. Like, and he's at Notts as well now. And like that was a big, like, I saw that growing up, and it's tough to see. And like even myself, like dealing with it, like just injuries and things like that, like it's so hard because it's your life. Do you know what I mean? And it's your passion, and there ain't many things where it like you're like if you take that away, like your job's taken away, and like maybe your source of income is taken away. Like not getting like the constant rejection of football, and like mentally it's so tough. It's one of the toughest jobs in the world. Like, I don't think there's many other jobs where you're being tested and judged every single day. Like, every day, if you put, like, in every moment of the day, if you make a bad pass in training, you're being judged for it. If you have a bad session, if you have a bad game, you're going to get judged for it. And it's very tough, and like you're constantly, it feels like you're always being tested and things like that. So no, I mean, I do a lot of work on my mental health. Like, I meditate every day.
That's good.
And yeah, I mean, it's very important. Like, your mind is probably 80%, I'd say, of like your journey in football. If you can control your mind, you've got a really good chance of making it in football, I'd say.
Exactly. And things like, for example, what's it called, anxiety or things like that. Obviously, it's a very big thing. Sometimes you can work on it, or through facing a lot of challenges, you learn that, you know, sometimes how you react affects the outcome as well. And you faced a lot of challenges, obviously. Yeah. And how do you, I think I've asked this before, but how do you kind of overcome them? Like the big ones, the small ones, the little ones?
I mean, it's all, I think it's all in your mind. Like, that ability, like I said, I meditate all the time. So it practices awareness. Like, thoughts are coming into your head all the time. Like, but most of the time people aren't, like, they don't even catch them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they'll like get in a negative cycle in their head, and it'll go over and over. And then it's so hard to break out of that once you're in a bad place in your mind. it's very hard to break out of that. But if you can catch when you're, say, feeling nervous or anxious, like that, if you can catch that feeling, you can bring your awareness back into the present moment. Do you know what I mean? Like, anxiety is a fear of the future, and depression is a thing of the past. Do you know what I mean? So,
present.
if you need to be in the present. That's where you're meant to be. So, if you can be more aware and in your mind have awareness of those thoughts, because thoughts become feelings. So, if you can catch the thoughts and change the thoughts, then your feelings they'll follow. So I'd say I think everyone should meditate, and then I think a big focus on awareness, like trying to change those thoughts.
Yeah, and speaking about meditation, obviously maybe some who haven't heard about it, they think it's just just go like that.
Yeah, floating on a rock or something.
Yeah, exactly. What could you explain? What do you do for meditation?
Yeah, so
what's that?
I try and do it most mornings for like 15-20 minutes a day, and all I do, like, there's loads of different ways you can meditate by focusing on your body, or focusing on, like, I focus on my breath, so I count my breaths, or just feeling that inhale and then exhale,
diaphragm, exhale,
yeah, exactly. And I just focus on that, and in doing so, of course, like, you'll have thoughts come into your head. You'll think like, oh, I'm hungry, what am I gonna have for breakfast, or like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the idea of it is to not like have no thoughts. I know people say to me, I can't meditate, I can't stop thinking about stuff. Well, obviously no one can. Like,
that's the mind. Yeah.
Like, the idea is to catch the thought as it comes in as soon as possible. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before it becomes like a whirlwind of thoughts. Like, you catch it early and then you suppress it, or you bring your awareness back to what you're doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And translating that into football, like when I was stood on the side of the pitch about to make my debut, I could feel my stomach going, like the nerves were there, but I was able to be aware of that. Do you know what I mean? I knew what I was feeling, and I could catch it, and I caught it early, and I thought, right, back to the task at hand. Focus on your breathing, or focus on the set pieces that the guy's showing me. Do you know what I mean? And that's what meditation is for. And it's you ain't floating about on a rock or anything like that. Like,
yeah, no, that's good, because it's almost like you got the second line of defence, catching any negative thoughts, blocking them out or whatever.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
And obviously, I like to give a kind of personal experience about kind of thoughts and things like that. I remember back, because I'm from London originally, right? I'm sure you guys, I've said it a million times to you guys, but I remember I was in year 9 or year 10, I saw this poster. It was kind of like how you mentioned kind of thoughts. It's kind of like a pyramid. So it starts out with thoughts, then it starts out with kind of words, and then actions, and then it becomes you. Because if you let that negative thought say, I don't know, maybe you might think, oh, I'm not good enough, or I might think that, and then you might say it to yourself, and then you might, if you think that you're not good enough, then you're not going to give your best, are you? So obviously, thing with me personally, some might say it's an ego or things like that, but you have to always tell yourself that, you're the man, you're the best, you're the best. Kind of. So do you have that positive self-talk?
Yeah, I mean, I do. So before every game, I'll meditate, and then I'll visualize like my performance. I'll visualize like making a big tackle or winning my headers, like playing line-breaking passes, and then I'll go on to like words of affirmation, or I don't know if that is the right term, but I'll say to myself over and over again, I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. And you start to feel it and you believe it, do you know what I mean? And then I'll say laser focus, and I'll say that over and over again, my eyes closed. And people like, I remember I first did it at Knots, and people were looking at me like, what is this guy doing? Like, and I remember people say, like, you look insane, like, before a game. But just repeating that to yourself, and like, self-dialogue is so important. Like,
that's true,
it's massive. And what you say, and like you said, what you say, you'll start to believe, and once you start to believe it, that's what you become. So like I a lot of my self-dialogue, I try and really reinforce it, and I try and do it as well by communicating to other players, like, stay focused. Do you know what I mean? Like, telling people to stay focused. It's telling myself as well. Do you know what I mean?
Hold yourself accountable.
So like, if you're a player out there, try that. Like, try talking to other people. Try sort of organising things like that, because it will keep you focused as well. And I think that's massive in my game. Like,
yeah, no, that's true. Because obviously when everyone says work on yourself first, and then once you do that, you try and help others, and that's what obviously you do on the pitch as captain, as the leader, right? And in TikTok as well, you got 10,000 people, 12,000 people holding you accountable, because you want to help them. But with your injuries and stuff, right? There was. You don't have to answer this, but
no, of course.
Was there a time, because I watched this video a while ago actually, and I share it with my friends, I share it put on my account.
Yeah.
There's things called downward spirals.
Yeah.
There's also something called upward spirals.
Yeah.
Was there a point where you experienced kind of both sides of the spectrum?
Yeah, I mean, after the game, like I said, when I pulled my quad, I was sat in the car, I was just crying, like, to myself. Because like, those thoughts, like you said, I was in a downward spiral, and I was thinking, I ain't got long left on my contract, like, I could get released at the end of this year. Like, I've hardly played, you know what I mean? Like, how am I going to get another contract, whatever? And, like, that, like you said, you're in a downward spiral, but luckily, like I said, I'm quite aware myself, and I've got a very good like support network around me,
Exactly,
which is
yeah.
it's massive for footballers or anyone really. Like, you need a close knit of like support network. Like, having a good support network around you is key, I think, to sort of getting out of those downward spirals, because like you can't always do it yourself. You know what I mean? And you're not always going to catch it before you go into a spiral. Like, and yeah, I mean, I've had upward spirals like. The debut or the pre-season was amazing. Like, that's the best pre-season I've ever had. And then very quickly you get injured and it's down again. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Football is up and down all
Bumps,
the time.
a lot of
It's
bumps.
all the time. And that's why I say, like, don't get too high, don't get too low. Just be like sort of content and focused throughout the whole thing. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And yeah, I think that's a good way of dealing with stuff.
That's true, because like you said, it's gradual, because
Yeah.
1 minute, you're with the first team, you're crunching tackles, the winger and neon boots taking them down,
yeah.
whatever. And then the next minute, you're in your car, you're upset because you had a little strain or things like that. And like you said with your dad and kind of how he was there for you, what was kind of his experience? Because he's obviously, football back then was a lot different, right?
Yeah, cool.
What kind of things did he learn that he passed down to Archie here?
I mean, it's a lot, to be fair. He's taught me a lot. He's big on his mindset stuff. So that's probably the main thing. Like, he teaches me a lot about psychology. Like, he reads loads of books about psychology, and sort of the meditating and all that sort of stuff comes from him. And like, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, like the mindset stuff, and just being able to call him if I'm feeling low or whatever, or if I've got a query about my mind or whatever it is. Like, he's pretty good at sort of educating me on it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's
Guru.
a big thing. Yeah. In terms of football, I mean, he tells me all sorts of stuff like, "Oh, you should have snapped him," and think, because he was a centre back as well, and he was an aggressive guy, I think. But yeah, I take what he says now with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because I think I'm probably know a little bit more than him now. But yeah, I mean, he's taught me a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of him passing it down to you,
Yeah.
what about you passing it down to the viewers, kind of the younger generation? What's
Yeah.
a couple of things you want to tell them?
I think, like, people always say, "Oh, what would your advice be?" Like, I think there's so many different pieces of advice. Like, I've said some already. Like, I think the three key things, though, I was thinking about this in the car on the way here, like, probably hard work, discipline, and self-belief. I'd say if you ain't got two of them three, like, you're not going to get anywhere near. If you've got all three, you might have a career. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think they are probably the three most important things in my journey anyway. So yeah, I'd say if you're a young player out there, like, look at those three. Think, are you working hard enough? Are you disciplined enough? And have you got that self-belief where people are going to tell you all the time you're not good enough? Like, football's a game of opinions. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah,
So
that's true.
you're going to get loads of knockbacks and injuries and people telling you you're not good enough, rejection. Like, that's when the self-belief comes in. You got to say, like, Joe, what? I'm the man. I'm gonna prove you wrong. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that would probably be the three biggest things, I would say.
And that's what life is, proving people wrong. 'Cause you've got, obviously, you may have a lot of doubts, and the camera's on you 24/7,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it? And I've had a few doubts in the past, saying, what's this little podcast channel you
Yeah.
got here, or something like
Yeah.
that. And we've talked about kind of the good things you want to pass down.
Mm-hmm.
What about the other side? What are some mistakes you think maybe you made that you don't want people to make, if there's any?
Yeah, I mean, one thing, I went into like academy football quite late. I think that's a good thing and a bad thing. I think I enjoyed my football a lot, which was obviously good. I think academies can be very pressured, high pressure environment, and sometimes people don't cope well under that if you're a young player. But then I also wasn't exposed to that high level of football as young as I probably could have been. So that's one thing. And another big thing for me is self-belief. Like, when I was younger, and even now, I struggle with that self-belief at times, and I think some of the best players like I've ever played with, they believe in themselves so much. Like they know they will win the game. Do you know what I mean? Like they might not, but in their heads they will. Do you know? Like they believe so strongly in themselves, and I think that's such a key part of being a footballer. Like you've got to think you are the best footballer like in the world at all times, even though you're not. Do you know what I mean? But you've got to have that belief where it's like, I can make a difference in this game. I'm going to be the best player on the pitch in this game. So yeah, and I definitely didn't have that growing up. I doubted myself a lot, and I had a lot of and I think that doubt also put me in good stead, because fear is one of the biggest motivators in the world. Do you know what I mean? And that fear of not making it and not being good enough has drove me in the gym and in training. Like I would work really hard, but then at the same time, when it come to the game, maybe I wouldn't take as many risks as I should have. So yeah, I think finding that balance of like self-belief but then not being cocky. Do you know what I mean? Not
balance,
arrogant. Yeah, it's a fine balance.
Yeah, and obviously in life, because where I come from, I've said this before, I think, but I grew up in a council estate, right?
Yeah.
So coming from essentially poverty, right? I wasn't gifted any gifts or anything, so I have to make it, right? Because it's some things in life, I'm sure with you as well, you have to make it as a footballer.
Yeah.
I have to smash out this channel, get it big or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you're kind of, you say, tomorrow, one step at a time, you have to lie to yourself to make those big jumps. And your brain can't tell the difference between lying and, because it's thoughts, it's actions that take place. And let's swap over now to kind of rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
Right, quick Q&A, quick passing ball. Someone's asking, this is a good one. Who's the best kind of trash talk or guy you've played against? Someone who get you rattled.
Craig, my old coach, when we'd play against him, or we'd have games against him in the little sweatbox or whatever, we'd play clips. He was the best. He could rattle you like so easily. He just knew exactly how to press you and things like that. So probably my old coach, which ain't a good thing, but yeah, he could definitely wind you up.
Yeah. There's a lot of trash talkers now. Mopai and everyone rattled with the darts and everything like that. And I've got a friend of mine, Harvey, shout out to you, mate. He's a Spurs fan, a big Spurs fan. He's asking about George Abbott. He's saying, what do you think about him?
Well, to be fair, I've trained with him once, because obviously injuries and things like that, I've not really been fit, but he looks like he's quality. To be performing at that level at that age, like, he's unbelievable. I think he might be a year younger than me, but technically he's very gifted, and like mentally as well, to perform at that level in that environment and things like that. Like, I mean, yeah, he's a player. Like that's all I can say. Really, he's very good.
Yeah, he's on loan from Spurs as well, isn't he? So a loan again. He made the most of it.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's an example of a very good loan. Like he's gone there with purpose, and he's playing as well. Like that's a big thing. So,
experience. Back to what you said about experience.
Yeah.
This might get you in trouble, but you're big on your health. You're big on your nutrition. Some naughty guy is asked, what's your go-to cheat meal after a big win?
To be fair, I think a cheat meal is important, because I'm very strict with my diet. And that cheat meal at the end or after the game, it sort of it allows you to keeps you motivated on that diet. Yeah. So I always have a Domino's. To be fair, that's my cheat meal. I love the Domino's.
Topping? You're not a pineapple guy.
No. I like a meat pizza. To be fair, like a bit of chicken, ham,
protein.
Yeah. Just get the protein in.
That's the excuse for the protein. Just be like, I'm having protein. It's fine. Okay, so obviously you're big on your TikTok and stuff, and someone's asked, what's the kind of biggest blooper you've had on making videos? Did a tripod fall down or something like that?
I'd probably say there was one where I was going for 100 kg bench, and my brother, he nearly killed me. Like he was, he slipped. He was trying. I didn't get it up, and he slipped on the the back of the bench. Like he's tried to trip. He's tried to get it. Yeah. And he's tripped over and ended up dropping the bar on me, and I'm like diving underneath it.
100, that's a lot as well.
Yeah, and I've tried to like push myself out from underneath, and the plates have gone everywhere and all that, and that was probably the worst, to be fair.
God, that's happened to me, but a lot less weight. I think when I first started, I think like 60 or something. I was just struggling, like turning red and everything. Another question, it's a bit of quite a good question, I think. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
In the next 5, I really don't know. I'd love to be. To be honest, I'd love to play abroad. Like that's probably my main. I'd love to play in the MLS. Like for whatever.
Yeah.
It's been a big draw all my life. Like I'd love to play in the MLS. So hopefully I'd be there. Yeah, I think I can see that. And yeah, with a TikTok, hopefully have a couple thousand.
Couple milli.
Yeah, maybe 1 million. That'd be good.
You can.
And, yeah, hopefully there.
Yeah, because if you're doing something that has an impact, that people are gonna like it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Worst fashion choice you've ever made? God.
I remember when I was in year
Jeans and Astros.
Yeah, in year 7, we had a school disco, and I wore like these skin tight jeans and a black roll neck. I looked like The Rock or something in one of that picture. But no, that was probably the worst. Yeah, that was terrible.
God, I remember I was in year 7. We had Mufti Day. You used to have Mufti Day back.
I don't even
in
know
the,
what that is. What is that?
Pay £1, you could wear what you want.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, I remember. No joke. I used to wear jeans and Astros.
Yeah, I think everyone.
The hyper venoms.
Yeah, everyone's
things like that. And obviously, those were the kind of rapid fire questions. And I'd like to talk more about your TikTok quickly, just to close this.
Yeah, of course.
And obviously, you post a lot, like your whole journey. The raw footage. And what's one thing you want them to take out of this? Kind of take out your page and for viewers.
I mean, for me, it would be like. Just knowledge really on like some of the things where like people wouldn't normally tell you. Like people aren't really that forthcoming with like the lows that they've had in football. They all want to tell you the highs. So yeah, maybe like be prepared for that. And like some of the more niche stuff, like the meditating and the nutrition and things like that, where people aren't as like. There's so many people that are putting on drills and things like that. Like you can find that anywhere, but I think you won't find many pages where you'll find the football, you'll find recovery,
everything.
Yeah, nutrition, mindset work, things like that. Like, so yeah, I think hopefully like the sort of niche, like the more niche things in football.
No, that's good. It's a whole package. So
yeah,
it's everything they need, because they may not have, a parent or someone who supports them as much as your parents did.
Yeah.
So and they've got everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people in football that don't really play it and haven't really got to that high level either. So yeah, I mean, I've even just being 20, I've had quite a lot of experience in the game. So yeah, I think I've got quite a lot to sort of give back to people. Yeah,
that's true. I'm looking forward to watching your career, because you're looking locked in.
Yeah.
Lowers, uppers, training, crunching, the whole everything.
Yeah, we'll get this injury gone, and then hopefully we'll be on the right track.
Back on track.
Yeah.
It's good you had it now though, rather than later, because experiences you learn from it.
Yeah, of course.
And obviously we're going to wrap up here. What's one thing you want to... Any last words? Say to the...
You're going to kill me.
Bit of Archie wisdom.
Any last words? No, I mean, for if you're a footballer watching, like I said, hard work, discipline, and like believe in yourself. I think they're the three most important things. So yeah, that's what I'd end it on. And enjoy the journey. Like, don't just focus on the end goal. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the sort of struggle and the hard work and playing on crap pitches and things like that, because you'll look back with fond memories one day. So
you'll laugh at it all at the end.
Yeah, I'd say enjoy the journey, because it's a short career. It's done very, very quickly.
That's true. And where can we find you?
I've got a personal Instagram, Archie Aves, and then on my TikTok, it's Pro Process. So that's probably the best place to find me, is Pro Process, where I document most stuff. So
cool.
Yeah.
We'll be on it.
No,
thank you, bro.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for having me.
Good episode.
Thank you.
Got everything out. Thank you guys for watching. I think this has been a deep episode. We've gone into everything, the highs, the lows, the struggles. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. You've learned something, because the people I bring on, they've been through everything, all right? It's not just all glamour. It's grit as well. Definitely. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you.
Lads.
Alhamdulillah.
Always been our loss. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.